Hello, my name is Sarah Harding, and I started a business called Coconut at Sea Soap Company. And I'm only talking to you here today because I got to go on vacation. I went on vacation with my family to Indonesia on the trip of a lifetime. We planned and saved for over a year and used up more than our fair share of carbon getting to West Sumatra, which is where I took this photo at a beach break in Padang. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that plastic is soiling our lands, ocean, and climate worldwide. I wrote my climate story for the Montana Woman magazine for the October issue, and I have some copies out there if you'd like to pick it up and read it. We spent 12 days on a boat in the Indian Ocean, going from island to island and surfing and snorkeling and eating Indonesian food, pulling up to gorgeous little coconut palm covered white sand beaches with turquoise water. It was amazing. I was in heaven, but there was a heartbreaking element to it also. We would pull up to these little islands, and above that high tide line there was solid plastic. Every kind of plastic you can imagine. Bits and pieces, water bottles, sandals, toys. 80% of the ocean plastic is coming from impoverished countries like China, India, and Indonesia. After visiting this island, my sister and I, back on the boat, were talking, and I said, we have to do better. Sorry, I get a little emotional because it's just so important to me that we do better. That soap making was a skill that I already had, and so I vowed to come home and make shampoo bars. And so I did. So the green box is our shampoo bar, and the other two boxes are soaps. And now that I've learned more about our recycling, I know that we can do not cardboard boxes. Even though they are recycled and recyclable, I think we can do better and just sell plain soap bars on our website, so look for that. Before you ask, I'm working on a conditioner bar. It's the first question out of everyone's mouth. So if you see me walking around with greasy hair, you'll know that I'm still product testing, and I have not gotten it figured out yet. So at Coconut at Sea, we use organic oils, essential oils. It's cold processed and plastic free. So I'm glad I got to go towards the end because I'm going to review everything that everyone else has already said, so it sticks in our brains. So the life cycle of plastic is always plastic. It breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, which is how it gets into our food chain. But every step of this process is contributing greenhouse gases to our climate. And as we all know, we're in a climate crisis. We have 8 years to turn this ship around. So the extraction, oil and gas, the manufacture is melted and molded. It's wrapped, usually in more plastic, shipped using fossil fuels, opened, and the plastic packaging is likely discarded where it goes into the landfill to create methane. It's used, which sometimes is a short life and sometimes is a long life, and then it's discarded, where it ends up either in the trash, where it takes hundreds of thousands of years to thousands of years to decompose, or it's incinerated, or it gets recycled, which we've learned a lot about today, or it ends up in the rivers and then the oceans. And there's gyres, which are where the currents come together, creating giant plastic islands in our oceans. And if it doesn't kill the marine life outright by filling up their stomachs or covering their faces, it enters them and we eat them, so now we're ingesting plastic. I know you're all here because you already know plastic is a problem, but this is an urgent problem. So I got this slide from the Center for International Environmental Law, and it's just a projection. The petrochemical and plastic industries are planning massive expansion in production. And so this is a graphic of the carbon emissions 2019, equal to 189 coal plants. And this graphic is going absolutely the wrong way. By 2050, our aim is to be net zero carbon emissions, not tripling. So again, what can you do? What can I do? Number one is to vote, like your life depends on it. Donate time and money to politicians and organizations that matter to you. Speak up. And number two is live the 5 R's. And number three is discuss it. So reach out and talk about it. Have climate conversations. Climate activists are telling us that the number one thing we need to do is talk about climate change. And number four is consumer activism. So we need to ask ourselves, where did this item come from? Where will it go when I'm done with it? Who made it? And what is its useful life? So in case anyone forgot, these are the 5 R's. And I've added those last two, which is reach out and rethink. So we'll start with rethink. Consumer activism is a growing trend. So it means new rules for businesses. We expect transparent values and accountability. I have a little bit of experience in retail, and I can tell you that buyers don't really know what's going to sell until they actually buy it and put it on the shelves and watch customers' reaction. So we have the power to choose brands that share our values, and we also have a tool to boycott products that are harmful. 2/3 of Americans take part in at least one boycott a year, and if we think about it, most of us are probably boycotting something right now. It's an American tradition, starting with the 1773 British tea boycott. So the next one, I'm going to skip the slide. So there is an industry that's doing a particularly poor job at those top three, and that's the fast fashion industry. They're a major polluter, they're emitting greenhouse gases left and right, they have poor working conditions, and they use self-esteem marketing, which is not that neat. Having climate conversations. I wrote about this in the December issue. I wrote an article for Montana Woman for the December issue, so I hope you'll look for that copy. It's a very difficult conversation to have. I recently had some real life experience with this at a family party and reunion. I learned a lot. And so these are my reminders of what to do next time. Because the first time, I didn't do any of these. I turned red and desperately tried to, frothing at the mouth, dispel the 8-year world is going to end myth, and then felt awful. So, number one is breathe. That's it. Just breathe, which we all probably just did. Connect. So remember that this person shares a lot of similarities with you, and to find common ground. Number three is to listen. Really listen. Don't just think about your rebuttal. Seek to understand. So practice curiosity. We're coming from different places, and unless we listen and try to understand, we're never going to know each other's viewpoints. And so then share, and this is, I shared with you my climate story at the opening, and so it's really important that you uncover your own climate story and be able to tell it from the heart, and it's okay if you cry. This is a very difficult thing that I'm asking you to do, but it's super important. My hope is that we can stop manufacturing plastics by drying up demand. The cognitive dissonance is when we know that something's a huge problem, but we still do it anyway. So we know plastic's a huge problem, but we still use it. So we need to change our behavior. Many people use the flooding kitchen analogy when it comes to plastics, where you walk into the kitchen, the tap's on, the sink's overflowing, there's water everywhere, it's soaking into the drywall, your tile's ruined, and you go for the mop and the towels instead of just reaching up and turning off the tap. So, thank you for listening. I hope you'll all add a few R's onto your to-do list and rethink your purchases and reach out to discuss these matters with each other. Thank you.